So, in this global race to build the biggest, baddest AI out there, India is doing something really interesting. They're making a bet that for the real world, maybe smarter is actually better than bigger. Okay, let's dive into what that really means.
And this quote from the CEO of BharatGen really gets right to the heart of it. You know, the common thinking is that to be powerful, AI models have to be absolutely massive. But India is asking a pretty sharp question. What if that's not the whole story? What if it's more important to have the right tool for the job instead of just the biggest hammer you can find?
To really get what India is doing, we've got to look at the bigger picture first. There's this incredibly intense competition happening right now, a global race to build the next generation of artificial intelligence.
And for a lot of the big players, the finish line, the big prize they're all chasing, is what's called a trillion parameter model. Now, parameters, you can think of them as the tiny little dials and knobs an AI uses to learn from data. The more you have, the more complicated the stuff it can figure out. So the goal here is to create these unbelievably vast, do-everything systems.
This analogy really puts it into perspective, doesn't it? I mean, just imagine the combined brain power of 1,000 experts in every single field, all available in an instant. That's the kind of power we're talking about. But it leads to a critical question. Do you always need 1,000 PhDs to solve a specific local problem?
And that is exactly where India's unique situation comes into play. The country has this massive challenge that a one-size-fits-all global model just can't handle. It's a challenge of incredible diversity.
This number really says it all. 22. That's the number of official scheduled languages in India. And trust me, that's not even counting the hundreds of other languages and dialects spoken all across the country. Any AI that can't handle this kind of complexity is just not going to be very useful for India.
So here's the problem, right? When you take one of these giant global AIs, which are trained mostly on English data, it is just a poor fit for these absolutely critical sectors. Can you imagine trying to use a government service, or get a medical diagnosis, or get farming advice in a language the AI can barely piece together? It just falls apart.
So out of this huge, specific challenge, this homegrown initiative was born. This is BharatGen, and it's designed to solve India's unique problem.
So what is BharatGen? Well, it's India's answer. It's this massive, government-backed national effort to build a large language model from the ground up, one that's designed for India's languages, its culture, and its real-world needs. And it's not just about text either. It's multimodal, meaning it's built to understand speech and images too.
And make no mistake, this is a huge deal. Just look at the names on this list. We're talking about the absolute heavy hitters of India's tech and academic world. You've got IIT Bombay leading the charge, IIT Madras on speech, IIT Kanpur tackling legal AI. This is a seriously coordinated national project, bringing together the country's best and brightest.
Which, brings us right back to that main idea we started with. BharatGen isn't trying to just build a bigger muscle car than the global giants. Nah, it's trying to build a smarter, more efficient engine that's perfectly tuned for the roads it's actually going to drive on. And the first big thing to come out of this is Param 2. Now, look at the size. Only 17 billion parameters. That's a tiny fraction of those trillion parameter monsters. But the magic here is how it's built. It uses what's called a mixture of experts architecture. The best way to think about it is like having a team of specialists instead of one giant generalist. When a problem comes in, the system knows exactly which expert to send it to. It's way more efficient.
So the big question is, how do you make a smaller model punch so far above its weight, especially across 22 different languages? Well, the secret lies in something most of us never even think about, the very first step in how an AI learns to read.
It's a process called tokenization, and it's super important. See, before an AI can understand anything you type, it has to chop up all the words and sentences into these little pieces called tokens. How well you do that, especially for complex languages, changes everything.
And this slide just shows you the difference perfectly. On one side, you have a standard tokenizer that was built for English. It sees a complex Indian word and just shatters it into all these tiny, inefficient bits. It's messy. But BharatGen's tokenizer, it's way smarter. It actually understands the structure of these languages, and it breaks words into fewer, more meaningful digital Legos. It's a genius move for efficiency.
And they didn't stop there. They developed this really clever method called AdaptMix. Now, the simple way to do this, which you see on the left, is to just throw an equal amount of data for each language at the AI. But that's not smart, because not all languages have the same complexity. AdaptMix, on the right, is dynamic.
It intelligently figures out which languages need more attention and adjusts the training data on the fly to create an optimal mix.
And the results, honestly, they're mind-blowing. Just look at this table. For a language like Malayalam, a big global model like Llama might need 16 tokens to understand a single word. 16! BharatGen's AdaptMix does it in just 2.6. I mean, that is a huge, huge leap in efficiency. It means faster responses, lower costs, and a much deeper understanding of the language itself.
Okay, so that's a lot of tech talk. But what does all this wizardry actually mean for a regular person in India? Why should anyone care? Well, it's about taking this incredible technology and making it actually useful for over 1 billion people.
We're not talking about abstract stuff here. We're talking about real-world help. A farmer getting advice in their native dialect right on their phone. A citizen being able to file a complaint with the government without hitting a language wall. Or a student finally getting access to educational material that actually speaks their language. This is AI in service of real, everyday needs. And all of this ladders up to something really important for India. This idea of sovereign AI. And this is about way more than just technology. It's about independence. It's the idea of a nation building its own AI tools, using its own data, on its own infrastructure to solve its own problems, without having to rely on anyone else. It's basically technological self-reliance for the 21st century.
And that really leaves us with this big, fascinating question for the future, right? Is the world of AI going to be run by just a few gigantic, one-size-fits-all models? Or are we going to see more countries follow India's lead, building these smarter, specialized AIs that actually understand the incredible diversity of their own people? It's something to think about.